that football team cast as wide of a shadow over every other program in that department than any program in all of college sports. And so much of this fan base is invested, digested, and just ingested with football that they believe that anything, any dollar amount, anything that goes toward any sport other than football is hurting the football program. With respect to Brownell, going into the season, they didn't make the tournament. He didn't have a job at the end of this season. I think we all can probably relate to that and agree with that. To say that you're going to fire him on Monday after they tied the program record for wins and got to the Sweet 16 couldn't be a more erroneous statement. He's more likely, according to ESPN's Jeff Goodman, they're working on a contract extension for him and possibly a little bit more money. And I've had an independent source who's talked to me also to confirm just exactly that as well. He is more likely to get more money and more years on the end of his contract to at least give him some more security so he can go out and recruit and maybe not miss on a guy like a Zion Williamson. That's a big thing, and I know that was a big thing for Clemson people, and that one really stung because a guy right in your backyard gets to go play at a program like Duke. And here's the other thing, too, about just this weekend in general. Clemson fans and the Clemson players got a chance to be up close to 3 basketball programs that run their program like a football program does on the basketball level. Kansas, Duke, and Syracuse, not only do their programs run like a football team, their fans care about them like a football team. And until Clemson basketball fans show the same type of passion for their basketball team and football like they do for their football team, I'm not saying it's got to be on the same level, but until they get at least somewhere in the neighborhood of that level, you're going to have the same problems that Brad Brownell had when he first got here, because he is really driving up and he's driving uphill, and he did about as good a job as he could with the resources that he has. He's getting more. They're getting more things in that program to be able to have him recruit and attract players, and he developed players too, like Gabe DeVoe, and there are a couple of others that are going to be in the limelight next year, like Shelton Mitchell and Elijah Thomas. But to say that he should be fired on Monday, there couldn't be a more erroneous statement made on your program.
Will Brad Brownell taking Clemson to the Sweet 16 buys him how many years?
Well, he's paid now through 2021, and you have to also understand the way that these contracts work. These contracts are backlogged just for the ability to recruit. I think that if he gets at least one more year, I'd say maybe gets him now to 2023, and maybe gets him a bump in pay of about $1 million per. I would say that would be, I think, fair. And the other also issue you have to think about this also from his job security standpoint is the power of one man, and that's not Dan Radakovich, it's Dabo Swinney. Dabo basically single-handedly saved Brad Brownell's job last year. Dabo likes him. Dabo believes in him, and when you're liked by that guy, you don't really go anywhere in the Clemson athletic program.
What does that relationship tell you? Does that relationship between Dabo and Brownell tell you that they're good friends, or that Dabo, I mean, because let's pretend for a minute that Dabo knows nothing about basketball. Does that have any way, or obviously it does, but in your opinion, should it have any pull in Brownell staying?
Oh, I think that Dabo is one of these guys, and again, we're talking about some of the big football programs. He's a guy who's bigger than the program. He is the face of Clemson athletics through and through right now, and I think when you have that guy's support, it carries a lot of weight. I don't know if necessarily a football coach should have weight over an athletic director, but you also don't want your athletic director in a situation like at Tennessee to be, a superstar. So it's a really fair balance. The best athletic directors are people who are heard but not necessarily seen. You get a donation here, a donation there, coach here, coach there. But if you're seeing less and less of an athletic director, it means you're probably having a very good program. And so I don't know necessarily if it's the best thing for him to kind of do the inner workings behind the scenes, but I do believe that Dabo and Brad not only have a good relationship, but Dabo has Brad's back when it comes to Dan Radakovich.
Well, just a couple of years ago, Dabo was, he didn't know football until he got his national championship, and now he's the king of the world. But, I do say that, because Brownell did make the necessary changes and everything to get to where he did to this year. I mean, went further than most of the ACC. I mean, you got ACC, not only Clemson's a football program, but then you got the ACC itself that he has to go up against, and he's got to recruit against the Dukes, North Carolinas, Florida States, Syracuse, and, all these other ones. And now he's it's tough.
I mean, you think about the two guys who are the principal scorers on their team, guys like Shelton Mitchell, who played at Oak Hill Academy, but is from Waxhaw, North Carolina, and Shelby, North Carolina's Gabe DeVoe. I mean, you want to talk about finding guys who were spurned by the Tobacco Road Blue Bloods. I mean, those are the kind of guys that you have to win with when you're at Clemson, and it's all about finding the right guys because, as you guys know, I mean, the product of basketball player in the state of South Carolina isn't always going to produce you ACC-ready talent. Now, South Carolina basketball was able to make a Final Four run under a local product in Darius Thornwell and P.J. Dozier as well, but at the same time, those kinds of guys not only weren't going to Clemson, but a lot of times also aren't going to South Carolina. So you have to basically make do with the scraps of the Dukes and the NC States and the North Carolinas. You have to win with those. And it's not only about providing the right footprint, but it's also about the players executing the game plan. And I think, the biggest problem last night is that, and I was sitting right behind the Clemson bench, Brad Brownell was saying all the right things. The players just weren't doing them a lot of the time. Like Shelton Mitchell, there was a couple possessions where Shelton Mitchell drove the lane after he had an open three, and Brownell looks back to his assistant coach and he says, why is he not shooting it? Why is he driving the lane? So it's not as if this is something where Brad Brownell completely broke something, and then this is a common thread in all of their 10 losses. Careless turnovers, bad shot selection, and an inability to overcome a run that went either without a field goal or without points. So it really is something that this is easy to fix. Execution is an easy thing to fix. You can't fix lack of effort. And I don't think you had that from Clemson because you had a guy like Gabe DeVoe go for 31. The problem is also he had 5 of their 12 turnovers.
Will Palaszcuk from Sports Talk. Will, before we let you go, let's pretend for a minute. Let's play the scenario. Brad Brownell is gone. Who in the world, first of all, would want to come to Clemson that's already at a bigger job? And the second part of that question is, who is going to be better than Brad Brownell at recruiting? And we talked about how hard, of a job Clemson was in basketball. Are you going to be able to find somebody better than him,
If you fire somebody at a program like Clemson after making the Sweet 16 and tying the program record for wins,
yeah,
I wouldn't want to be that athletic director.
That's right.
I would not want to be that athletic director.
Or the next guy coming in.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's the thing. You're probably looking at the mid-major level. You're not getting somebody from a Power 5 job to come to Clemson to replace somebody of that nature. And again, Brad Brownell knows the recruiting trail here. I mean, the UNC Wilmington trail that he made from here. It's something that he knows where to go to get players. I think that's the thing that we have to at least appreciate now because again, Gabe DeVoe is part and parcel of why. You can take a player as a freshman who was overlooked by those other schools and develop him and turn him into an all-conference level player. And I think that's exactly what Gabe DeVoe is. And he proved it over the course of this season. And that's what you need to do with a program like Clemson. You're not going to get to the NCAA tournament every year. It's an impossible standard to hold yourself to. If you're not a blue blood, dyed in the wool, a blue as Cookie Monster blue blood, you can't get to the NCAA tournament every year. You can't get to the second weekend every year. But if every 2 to 3 years you either get to the NCAA tournament or in one of those 3 years you make a deep run, that is more than worth rewarding a basketball coach, especially at a program like Clemson.
Absolutely agree with you, Will. Thanks for your time. Great stuff as always, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry we couldn't talk more about the game, guys. But
listen,
I
love it. I love those past 10 minutes. I mean,
I've had to give him a sedative.
It was a great game last night. I feel that Kansas, is one of the classes of this region.
Oh, no
they're the
doubt.
class of this region. I think between them and Duke, I think that the two right teams are playing for a chance to go to the Final Four. But if you think about Clemson, the thing that comes down to it was missed opportunities for them, and I think that that they'll learn that, and they learned some hard lessons tonight, and in their 10 losses, and I think it can only help them going forward.
Absolutely, completely agree. Will, talk to you soon, man. You're the best.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
That's Will Palaszcuk from Sports Talk. Covers Clemson just as good as anybody. Put them up against anybody. Take a break. Last segment of the show, Dean. Here we go.